Say around 1Q. I guess I can accept that. It's a little bit risky because I'm on the verge of ranking down. But anyway, let's get a game. Say hello. Okay, I'm Sente. Go first. So yeah, I'm on the verge of ranking down, but on the other hand, he's more than 200 points higher rated than me. So I don't know if this will have any effect on my rating. So this is a deciding point here. I can move this pawn and then put the bishop here to stop this pawn from coming, or I could move my silver up and go for a more of a static rook position. Maybe even Yagura opening. Haven't played one of those in a while. Let's go ahead and get that silver in place. Now if I start bringing my king over immediately, let's push the rook pawn and see how he defends. He defends with the silver as well. So I could start a king walk. Boom, 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 boom. Go for the fast. Go for the fast Yagura. And I'm not quite sure what his setup is yet. Maybe he's setting up something like, yeah, it's like a snow roof, except the silver's over here in front of the bishop. I have played positions like this before. Myself, I've played with that setup. I don't know if it has a name. Okay, so the king is over here. Bishop is on this diagonal. I could think of pushing a pawn here. I do have to be careful. There's this. The bishop is looking at my king, so this silver is potentially pinned. I mean, currently there's a piece in the way, so it's not a problem. But okay, let's bring my silver up on the other side. Ah, yeah, so he keeps the diagonal closed. So if I push right away, he takes with the pawn, I take with the bishop, he takes with the silver, I take with the rook, and then he drops a pawn. So that's just a bishop-silver exchange, and I don't really break through. So I need to bring in more force, I think. Oh, and he brings his gold up. If I put my silver here, he can drop a pawn, dragging my silver forward, and then if he had another pawn in hand, he could drop another pawn and kill my silver. But he doesn't have another pawn in hand, so let's play this. Just going to push this pawn. Ah, he moved his bishop. Okay. Ah, you know what he might be doing is he might be repositioning it in front of the king. No, he puts it there to attack my. Puts it there to attack my rook here. And then it also hits the lance if I move the rook. So I can drop my silver back. Okay, I want to lift up this gold, I think, and then put the knight here to protect this diagonal. But is that too slow? I lift my gold up. He can push this pawn immediately. Well, my silver can come back here. Okay, and then he starts to push his pawn, which he can do. He's attacking the head of the silver here. And then he attacks the knight, but the knight is defended. I mean the gold. He's attacking the gold and maybe thinking of pushing here. So I haven't set up a castle here for my king. I never finished the Yagura setup. This gold is in the wrong place. But on the other hand, I can drop a pawn here. And I can push this pawn. So we'll see if my higher rated opponent can punish me here. Oh, he drops there at the head of the knight. I was not on the lookout for that tactic. Yeah. Well, the knight's protected there, so it's just a knight pawn trade. But not what I wanted. And let's push on here. And then he enters with the horse and promotes. Yeah, my my rook was not protected. Okay, let's break through here. Maybe we can get something out of this after all. I guess he's going to just drop a pawn here. Could take with the bishop instead. Now, what to do? Have a silver in hand. He's got a silver in hand and a knight. So there's no great check, is there? Okay. I was thinking of dropping a piece here, but of course his knight is guarding that square. A common mistake that I make. I can drop the silver here with check, but he can just take it with the gold, and it's not a good trade for me. I'll end up losing. I will end up losing. Okay, he's attacking the rook again, and he's hitting this pawn. Interestingly, the rook is defended, so I could let him take that, and then I would have another bishop in hand, and he would have a rook in hand. Bishop drop here would be useful, but it's not getting out from there. Bishop drop here, the rook moves, and then it has nowhere to go. Silver drop here, not so great. Okay, so I could drop the rook back. He would take here, and I could bring my gold up. He could take here. He gets a lot of pawns. Okay, silver drop here. The rook just steps aside and attacks my silver. Pawn drops. Pawn drop here is possible. Yeah, I could have done that when the bishop was on this diagonal, maybe. Oh, a big check. Okay, I have to take that, I guess. So I lose a silver, but I have a knight now. Okay, some combination of the silver and the knight. Drop a silver, then drop a knight. Yes, his setup seems difficult to crack. Drop a pawn first. He'll take it with the knight, probably. Drop a pawn here on the king. No, I can't, because that is not one of those safe places. Okay, so I can drop a pawn here. And I probably should, just because close this up and prevent a prevent a knight from showing up there again. Okay, what's he attacking there? I can drop a silver here. Keep chasing his horse. Yeah, so if I drop a knight here, it would defend the gold. I could drop a pawn here to defend the gold. So dropping a knight here, attacking the gold and attacking this pawn, maybe that's an idea. Okay, so he decides to break through over here. Let's see how he does it. Drops another pawn. Gonna keep taking. I don't understand the point of luring a pawn forward. Yeah, so he can drop a pawn there, but then I can drop a pawn here. Or I could wait till he pushes. Yeah, so let's drop my knight. The best attack is a good counterattack. It applies in Shogi as well. So he goes there. So now he's got two defenders on this piece. On this pawn. Knight takes pawn, gold takes. Knight here. Just takes. Can't drop a pawn there. Yeah, so I guess the problem is I can't take this pawn with my gold. I have to take with the king. Could go here. The gold is needed to defend the bishop. That was what I was struggling with there. So he drops a silver there. Ah, okay. So I take, he will take. And as I said, I have to take with the king. So then he has some good drop here. He's got two silvers in hand. I have one silver. How about if I drop a silver here, attacking his horse? Can I trap that horse? can go here, and then I can bring the, no, the gold can't move there. Drop a silver here, the horse runs away. Yeah, so he ran away to start with. Yeah, well, that makes sense. I have to admit. Okay, so he's attacking this pawn here. Okay, he's checking my king. Let's step back. You can drop a silver here now, but I can take it because my bishop is no longer under attack. Before, his horse was in my camp and my bishop was under attack. Okay, the horse is hitting my silver. And the silver, I can't drop a pawn to defend it. And I can't move it that way. I can move it this way. Oh, I could have pushed this pawn and the my bishop would have been defending it. Yeah, so now he drops a silver there, attacking my bishop. Let's counterattack his horse. If I just drop back, he's got another silver drop to just crush my bishop, so counterattack seems like the only answer here. It's a good diagonal for the bishop anyway. It's looking at his rook. And I can drop a pawn here. There's no pawns in this row, and I have a lot of pawns in hand. So he decides to trade. Do I take with the pawn or the gold? I'm not sure. Okay, I've got a bishop in hand. He drops a silver there. Okay, and he's got a bishop. Okay, and he's going to drop the bishop here. I can't attack this directly. Can I attack his king in any way? Yeah, that just was a desperation move. I don't have any idea what to play, and the countdown was happening. I'm just trying to, you know, prepare a bishop drop of some kind. There's his bishop drop. And then he's got a gold drop. Well, anyway, there was a limited number of squares I could run to. Drops the gold, I run here. And then he's actually out of drops at that point, although maybe maybe I'm dead anyway. Yeah, only square, right? He can take the knight, maybe. Okay, that's a check, but it's not defended there. But when I take, what did he get? Oh, he got a knight. When I take, he can bring the gold forward to check, and I go here. I don't know. Let's see this. Let's see this in action. He brings the silver forward. Ah, and that's a mate. All right. Good game. Let's zoom back out. Let's say thank you for the game. Nice day. Yeah, so good game. Strong player, so can't expect too much. And looks like I stayed at 1000 Q. Or 9Q, 1000. Rating of 1000, so I stay at 9Q just because my opponent was so much higher rated. It's not going to rank down. But my rating is at the bottom of the rank. I may be demoted if I lose the next game, but it's also based on the rank of the person who defeats me. So I survive another day and I'm still 9Q. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye now. I thought we could take a quick look at Elmo's evaluation of our game. You can see it's kind of one-sided here. All the bars, well, the bars when they're below the line are in favor of my opponent, and almost all of them are below the line. So around here, it just turned in his favor, and I never got back into it. Of course, he's a strong player, so it's not surprising that I got away. It looks like I got away with one slip here, but then there was a second one here, and then he just took over the game. I did fight on for a long time, so I was pretty happy with my play overall. But let's see if we can spot some of my mistakes here. So this all seems pretty normal so far. We're both going for static rook positions, and I'm going for a Yagura setup, and he's playing this interesting setup with just moving the king once and keeping the 2 golds nearby. It gets a pretty safe setup. I don't know how well. Maybe this eventually turns into a Yagura if the game turns into a long one as king. The bishop can move this way. The bishop can move this way. And then here. And then the king can walk around to go where the bishop is. And then that will become a Yagura as well. Anyway, let's clear that. Let's continue. This intermediate position with the 2 golds, though, seems to be fairly safe. And I think you know, you can stay in this position for quite a while without having to move the king again, and that's pretty much what happened in this game. So right here, it didn't like my king maneuver. It wanted me to push a pawn, and I didn't quite understand the point of this move, but I think I do now. So let's go on a few moves and show what the idea is, or what I think the idea is. So I just stepped aside with my king. Right, here we are. Stepped aside with my king, putting it in the space that I wanted to go, and he pushed a pawn forward, and then I pushed a pawn forward. And now here, he didn't play the strongest move. He brought his silver there. But what Elmo wants Sente to play here is to bring the knight out. And I think here's the point. If there was a pawn on this square, Yep, wrong object. There was a pawn on this square, then he wouldn't be able to bring his knight here. But when he plays his knight here right now in this position, his knight is actually making a double threat. It's threatening to come to one of these 2 squares, and both of which are attacking my silver. So if I already had one of those squares covered, I could protect the other square, and then he wouldn't be able to hop his knight in there. So anyway, that's my guess as to what that pawn move is about. And I think it's, I don't know, it's an interesting point that it's useful to keep a knight out of these squares if you want to secure a piece on this square and not have it be harassed by the knight. You need to do some pawn moves to keep the knight from coming in there. A lot of times the rook pawn has gone forward 1 step, and so there's a rook pawn here, and so the knight can't go to that square, but this square is available. Anyway, that's just my guess as to what's going on there. Let's clear this off and continue. So it's a kind of a minor thing. He didn't take advantage of it, and the game continues about even. And then the first big mistake is right here when I blocked. So he had just moved his bishop out, attacking my rook. And I thought for a while here of how to block or whether I should move. I mean, I could move the rook aside, but that's pretty, you know, what is your rook doing on the 9th file? But it does protect the lance. If the rook moves, the bishop could take the lance and promote. So That's the danger there. Yeah, Elmo has a good suggestion here. Elmo suggests developing my bishop to this square, and that also blocks the attack. And what I was thinking is this is maybe an example of a more general principle. When I block with the silver, it's kind of passive. It doesn't attack anything. Whereas when I block with the bishop, it's blocking the attack, so it's defending, but at the same time it's also attacking his bishop. So it's a little more forcing. You know, if you just block passively, then it gives your opponent another move to continue to attack. And then let's go on specifically in this case. There's a problem after I move the bishop here, which he didn't take advantage of, but this was his chance. Actually, you could guess the move here if you wanted to see if you could figure out the right idea for my opponent here. What's the best move? Okay, pause the video if you want time to think. I'm giving the answer away now. Well, it starts with this move, pushing the pawn. I'd already noticed that I couldn't take the pawn back because that would open up this diagonal. So I was planning to just retreat my silver here, but he has a pawn in hand, and I had just exchanged off a pawn on this third file. So this third file is open. There's no pawns on it, so he can do a pawn drop to this square. And then you know, after he'd pushed that pawn and dropped a pawn here, my silver has no more squares on this diagonal, and yeah, I have to just give it up. If I move it away, he just takes my rook, which is undefended. So, you know, I can defend my, I can defend my silver with another piece and then just trade it for a pawn. But that's obviously going to be good for my opponent. Okay, so that was my mistake. He let me get away with that one. And then it was the next mistake that really finished the game. I brought my knight up here, and then let's see, he just did some attack over on this side, some trades, got his bishop to a good position, looking at my undefended gold here, and I dropped a pawn. Oh, my gold was defended by the rook. I decided I was okay there, and I just dropped a pawn here. But this has a bad side effect. So at the moment, before the pawn drop, if we back up one step, this knight is pretty safe here. Because he has a pawn here, he can't drop a pawn on my knight's head. So even though the knight's head is open, there's no threat to the knight at the moment. But I create a threat for for my opponent by dropping a pawn here and trading. And after the trade, the third file is now open again, no pawns on it, and so he can drop a pawn. And yeah, this came out of the blue because it wasn't possible a couple moves earlier, and in fact, it was my fault, my own moves that made this possible. So I guess this is the moral of this one is, you know, beware of the unintended consequences of your moves. So at this point, I have to give up the knight for a pawn, and he's just better. And you know, I maintain my position for a while, but I never really get back in the game. So I don't. We can step through to the end, but I don't have anything else to say about the remainder. I think he was just a good player, and when I give him an advantage like that, there's no way he's going to let it slip away. Anyway, he showed some nice mating technique there with the sacrifice at the end to deliver the final mate with the knight and the promoted silver. Anyway, that's it for this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.